Hi there and welcome to Hearthside. My name is Michelle and I'm the author on this blog. Today I'm doing the accessible copy for my latest, which is called Harvest and Winter Nights. And this is perfect timing as, according to my reckoning, Winter Nights would fall tomorrow night, which is Sunday on the full moon after the new moon after the autumn equinox. Not everyone, however, reckons it exactly the same, so I'll talk a little bit about some of the other different dates that people might celebrate it, and then talk about it in the source material and what that might mean for our practice in modern heathenry. So, there's a bunch of different times that it might have been celebrated. I've seen people celebrating it right on the autumn equinox. Also, there are quite a few different groups that say sometime in mid-October. Some are more specific than others. Like, for example, some are saying it's on a Saturday that's between the 11th and the 17th. Or on the 13th of October. Others are also celebrating it on October 31st, I'm guessing, instead of Halloween or Samhain. I'm not exactly sure on that one. And I've even heard recently that some people celebrate it as late as November. So for us, because we're celebrating using the Lunisolar calendar, it would be possible for the date to potentially fall in early November, depending on when the moon was. But that would be very rare. And the people that I was hearing this from were actually saying they were celebrating it later in November. So, yeah, there's different ways that you can reckon it, just depending on what you do with your tribe or your hearth. It doesn't exactly say anywhere in the sources when it would be. It just says that it's at the beginning of winter and it is a sacrifice for a good year. Now, I was trying to pull apart a little bit what that might mean. And I was looking at the phrase "til ars og friðr." Some of you may be familiar with it. It means for a good year and frith or peace. So this is often a phrase that is used in modern times along with this holiday. It might have been associated with winter nights historically, that I'm not 100% on. Anyways, the idea of what a year was historically could have meant just a season. So then the question becomes, are we celebrating that we had a good season in the summer and a good harvest? Or are we making a sacrifice to have a good winter and survive the winter? Or do they actually mean the full year and that they want to have a good year for the next year? Because in the same source it's saying that the Yule sacrifice was for a good crop, so that makes me think that maybe it just means the season of winter, or else it's a celebration of the previous summer. But I guess that's up to our interpretation in modern times, as we would not know. A lot of modern heathens see winter nights as being a New Year bloat of sorts. So that falls again into that idea. Now, we are actually very fortunate in the sagas that there's lots of references to winter nights, how it was celebrated, and it seems like it was usually celebrated in the home or hall. There was feasting, drinking of either wassail or ale, and another element of this holiday was that there was a sacrifice that was usually of either cattle or horses for bountiful harvest. So that, again, it doesn't quite tie in with what we were hearing earlier, which was that it was for a good year. So now it's saying bountiful harvest. So it seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect there, but that makes me think that it's the celebration of the harvest instead of a sacrifice for a good winter or a safe winter. That was kind of the direction that I think most modern heathens are going with it anyways, as it being a harvest celebration of sorts, just because of the timing. I know for us in Canada, it happens to be this weekend also Thanksgiving weekend, so again, we're tying into the harvest. That doesn't happen that way every year when we're using Lunisolar reckoning, but it definitely is part of the feel of this month, I guess, here in Canada. The holiday itself... The holiday itself seems to be to Freyr primarily as a deity who was bloated to, but also to the Disir is often mentioned in different sources as well. And at this time of year, it seemed like, I don't know if it was at Winter Nights or around the same time as Winter Nights, people were gathering together to play games of sport. So for me, when I'm looking at that, I'm wondering if it's like sort of like a reprieve from all the preparations that were being done. The harvest has come in probably by this point, and it might be like that short break before everything is stored and put away and got ready for the snow to come. So just the people sort of regrouping before all that other work that needs to be done. Modern heathens mostly honor Freyr at this time and see it as a harvest holiday. Many honor the Disir, and some have associations with other deities, Freya, Gerther, etc. Possibly with Odin or Holda, because of this being seen as the beginning of the wild hunt coming in because of the long nights, and also because of the connection with Freyr. It's also associated with Freyr and Elfheim, which means that some people also put their Elfablot at Winter Nights. Now, that particular connection I'm a little bit less sure about personally, just because it seems like in the sources that Winter Nights is being described as many families coming together to celebrate, whereas Elfablot seemed to be more of a private sort of celebration. So, I don't know, whatever you want to do, obviously. And I know that the way we celebrate Elfablot now would probably not be the same as historically anyways, so might be a moot point. But, I just personally don't see that connection with this holiday, but I can see how other people would. And also there's some groups in the modern time that instead of celebrating Winter Nights, they celebrate Hostblot, which would be the autumn equinox, or they celebrate both. I think like there is definitely like a connection with like the wild hunt, with the Disir, with the dead, and I think that's also why some people have sort of bumped the holiday onto October 31st to overlap other holidays that have a similar feel. But I think that that is just sort of one of the significances in the holiday, so like you can do it then. It also depends on where you're living, because like for us, the last couple days, like we had snow 2 days ago. It didn't stick, but we've already had snow and we haven't had Winter Nights. So I imagine in the United States or other places where it's a little bit warmer that that is a bit different depending on your region when you would think it would be the end of the harvest, etc. Alright, so if we're looking at it, how it was celebrated historically, like I said, it seems like it's coming from the preparation for the winter, the harvest is done, the preserving of things, slaughtering of animals, and the needs of the community for survival through the winter. So it's the celebration of a bountiful summer, but also planning for the hardships of winter, and just sort of like enjoying that season of plenty before those hardships hit. Also a time when some seeds might be sowed over winter, and in a way, like, it ties in with the Canadian Thanksgiving insofar as that it is a time to be thankful for the bounty of the summer, and to be hopeful for the bounty of the next year. So, how do we take this as modern heathens? A lot of us are not as connected to the land or our food sources as older heathens would have been. But a difficult summer would still affect us because everyone needs to eat to survive. So it seems like all of us can be thankful for a bountiful year, even if it's just the small crops in our garden, tomatoes, squash, or whatever else we might have grown, or thankful that the food prices are not gouging our wallets. Beyond that, I think it also has to do with the element of community, and if I take you back to that phrase, till or Frigler, then it would be the element of frith, or the bountiful nature of our communities. And we want to see that our luck will grow over the next year, basically. So yeah, this is just like a very simple post in this case. I wanted to cover this holiday because I had covered all the other ones already. I find this time of year is always very busy, and it's difficult to get something out, so that's why it took so long with this one. There's lots more that could be said on this topic, but this is just sort of like the basics for those of you who are less familiar, partly with the reckoning of when it would be in the Lunisolar calendar, which is what I follow, and partly just sort of historically, if we're pulling all the sources together, just so that you have an idea of what it's about, because I know, like, Yule, usually most people are the most familiar with Yule and what that holiday is about. Sigerbloat and Winter Nights maybe are a little bit longer to take than it takes for you to wrap your head around them if you're coming from a different tradition. So that's it pretty much, and I hope to see you next time.